there. I'm Lou Bayer, co-founder of World Citizen Alliance, and it's my pleasure today to provide this takeaway lesson tutorial for the World Citizen Core program. This is level 1, and we're talking about takeaway lesson 5, which is called Leadership Essentials. And this lesson is number 5 of 5 takeaway lessons. There is also a bonus lesson, and we encourage you to review the lessons in order, number 1 to 5, because the concepts build on each other. The theme of this lesson is leadership, and it's specifically about how leadership is an aspect of character as much as it is an aspect of behavior. And we do review the essential traits of leadership. And so it's understood that every world citizen is a leader, and so understanding what leadership skills are needed to be successful in that endeavor is the rationale for this lesson. And so as we start with the lesson, applications are about leadership and responsibility, collaboration, and communication. So in the work that they do, world citizens will find themselves frequently in a leadership role, or they will be in a leadership role and they will take on aspects of world citizenship in their daily work, in the way they coach and teach others, or as something that they do on the side as part of a, living their personal philosophy. So leaders need all kinds of skills, but related to civility specifically, systems thinking and social intelligence fall into that category. So we're going to explore 3 basic but essential traits of leadership, and they're considered important all around the globe. So these lessons each of us have these essential skills and regardless of our gender, our age, our culture, and so on, these traits are driving mechanism behind the will and desire to make positive change in our surroundings. So we're all citizens of the world. If you've been reviewing the other lessons, you know that we're humankind and we are living and working together. Our global village is ever changing, and so we need to be able to share our knowledge and our experiences and connect and collaborate. And in this way, we can build a better, brighter, and more civil world. So one of the ways that we do that through our leadership skills is by having an understanding of universal traits of leadership and having the ability to live these traits in our career, in our life, and so on. And the idea is that we can model and exemplify what leadership should look like. So there are many leadership skills, but we're focusing on 3 of them: humility, courage, and responsibility. And these are all related to civility, you'll see as you carry on through the lesson. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how do you live those skills and traits. So the chart shows which 21st century skills and what essential skills are covered in this content. And of course, we don't go into each of these in great detail, but there are sources and resources provided so that you can expand the lesson as you wish or customize it based on your personal interests or the interests of the audience that you serve. So there are some supplies you'll need. We do provide a handout with this. The timeline is provided, suggestions about how you might use the content and deliver in a 1.5-hour period. In this case, we highly recommend going through the reading list and review as much as you can, in addition to YouTube clips. Because you're teaching adults, you have to acknowledge that there's a lot of education and experience in the room. There's a good chance that many of the people who gravitate toward world citizenship training, it's specifically because they are leaders. And so we want to acknowledge that. And you want to be sure that people know that you expect to learn from them as much as you hope to share some knowledge or insight with them. And so it's good for you to know a little bit more about these 3 competencies, at least if you can, than the people that are in the room. There is a handout here. We provide the template so that you could copy it and paste it and distribute it to your audience. So we want to start by acknowledging that leadership as a topic is not new, that there's a lot of resources and books and training. There are a lot of leadership gurus in popular media, online for example, that you can follow along. Everyone from Tony Robbins to Robin Sharma to Brendan Bouchard. There's Brene Brown. There's so many people who speak on leadership, and much of it is very, very good. But if you look at a lot of it, you'll see that in many cases it's the same core skills presented in different ways or called something different. And so we want to make sure that people know that not all leaders are the same, and organizations, of course, are not. But there is sort of a universal understanding of what a leader is. You know, this is that leaders lead by example, and they cause growth and positive change. So there is an expectation that there's an impact, that leaders have some power and influence, and that they can change the way people think and behave. So there are 10 traits that the research suggests is universal, meaning wherever you are in the world, whatever sector you're in, a leader is a leader is a leader. So in terms of overall competency. So the way you as a facilitator could use this is you could initially just ask the participants in groups or individually to make a list of what they think are the top 10 traits of a leader. Let them share with each other what they've put there, and then you can share your list. And the list is provided here in the lesson. You can discuss briefly everything that is on your list. It's quite an extensive list, quite a bit of detail here. Courage, humility, responsibility. And as you're discussing what's on their charts, of course, we're not going to dismiss what they've put, but we're going to highlight these 10 traits that we have on our list. And we want to provide sources and resources where we can, and it's going to be very important that you define the terms. I mean, we want to make sure that everybody is using the same words to describe the same traits, and depending on how diverse your audience is, you cannot take for granted that that is in fact what's happening. So we want to be very careful about that. So, we have, on this chart, we've given some examples of leaders in different roles. A financial corporation, a medical establishment, a military organization, a retail corporation, humanitarian aid agency. You know, we've asked you to jot down based on those 10 skills that we say are critical, which do you think are most necessary for leaders in these different roles? So we're saying that every one of them is important, but depending on the role, one or more of those traits might be kind of a deal breaker, or more or less significant or useful. So we want to see what their perception is about that. The universal traits have to be displayed and externalized as well as internalized. They complement each other, and when misused can undermine each other. So the next thing here is we want to talk about, it's great we identify people have those traits, but when do you use them and how do you use them? In addition, as you are exhibiting them, how can you teach them or coach them? So in different situations, and once again, you'll have to read through the lesson and think about your audience. And if you're working with aid workers, then of course you're going to focus on the traits for aid workers and that application. So as happens with all of the World Citizen lessons, we encourage you to read the whole lesson, think about your priorities and your goals when you're delivering to a specific audience, and customize the lesson accordingly. So we're going to say, in closing, we want you to think about these traits, and you can ask people to what extent they think these traits are developed or can be acquired. And you could also ask each group or individual to rate themselves on each of those traits, and or if the group as a collective has picked out a couple of traits that were on all of their lists or charts that are not here, there's no reason you can't expand the list to 12 traits versus 10 traits. There's a couple of games here and some instructions here for what's called Maestro game. It's a little bit about leadership. The leader in this case is called Maestro. So it's about how do you get the group to practice and perform when they have limited resources or they don't have all of the information. So we're looking for somebody to exemplify leadership, and it's quite interesting how this activity works, so please research it and you might find it works for you. There's also an opportunity here to add some questions and use them in Kahoot, which is the digital platform that people can load onto their phone. It's an app so that you can do group interaction and have all of the group answers and stuff kind of arrive in one place, and then you can share with the group. So we encourage you to once again review the whole lesson. Leadership is such an enormous topic that there are certainly many different ways you could lead this lesson. It's critical that we incorporate the idea that everyone is a leader, that you don't have to have a title to be a leader, that you don't have to be officially designated as a leader. We can lead in our own lives by living by our character and our values and setting this high standard for citizenship and for human kindness.